Welcome to episode 16 of the Challenging Approach series. In this episode, we're exploring Santos Dumont Airport in Rio de Janeiro. Described as one of the most beautiful approaches, it is also one of the world's most challenging. The airport's main runway is extremely short at just 1,300 metres or 4,300 feet, which ends in water at both ends, which is exceptionally short for the large narrow-body aircraft that land there. Due to the surrounding terrain, including the iconic Sugarloaf Mountain, the approach into runway 02 right from the west is complicated, requiring a near 180-degree turn to final, with a turn ending less than just a mile from the runway threshold. Without further ado, let's jump into the cockpit. Welcome aboard this Boeing 737 as we make the approach into Santos Dumont Airport, Sierra Bravo Romeo Juliet. This is a particularly interesting approach. It's quite beautiful, but definitely very challenging. So I'll just go through a bit of the approach brief. So in this approach, we are taking the RNAV Whiskey approach into runway 02 right. Our initial approach fix is Galut at above 6,000 feet. At Romeo Juliet 931, we must be at 4,800, continuing to Romeo Juliet 031 at 3,500. We'll then turn to 115 degrees to our intermediate fix at Romeo Juliet 32 at 2,700 feet, where the approach then becomes significantly more challenging. At Romeo Juliet 801, we must be at a maximum of 160 knots before the complex turns start at just only 1,850 feet above sea level. By our final approach fix at Romeo Juliet 802, we must be at 140 knots, so fully configured for landing, and we'll disconnect the autopilot. We'll expect to continue on to Romeo Juliet 803 at 1,162 feet, where we'll start that tight 180-degree turn to final, and during that turn we'll be looking to maintain roughly 2.8 degree descent rate, so somewhere between 700 and 800 feet per minute, so that we can roll out on the correct glide path for the runway. We'll expect to roll out at just 0.8 nautical miles from the runway threshold, so we'll be looking to get stabilised as quickly as possible. As the runway is very short, we'll also make sure to reach the touchdown zone, otherwise we'll have to fly the missed approach to 5,500 feet with a gradual right-hand turn. That might be a nice segue now into the landing performance calculations. So if we look down here, we're fairly light aircraft for today. However, no matter what I did in terms of the loading with any sort of realistic passenger numbers, just because we're an 800 series 737, I could not get the landing calculation to work with auto brake, but you can see there is enough margin for manual braking to achieve the required landing distance. So I have selected at the moment the auto brake setting to 3, and then I'll just be using manual braking. In reality, probably not the best way of doing it, just because we're using 800 series. You'd probably expect something more like a 700 or 600 series 737 landing this airport in reality. So we're nearing our descent point at Galut, so we're going to quickly go through the approach checklist. So QNH we've got set as 1013, which is verified as the correct QNH for the airport we're landing at. Approach speeds are checked, so today I'll go to the approach. You can see we're using flaps 30 at 135 knots, which is below the maximum 140 knot required for the approach. Recall, do a quick check, no issues, and we've got the auto brake setting to 3. As we discussed with the landing performance calculation, we may require some manual braking just to achieve the required landing distance. See, we already got the landing lights on and the fasten seatbelt signs on because we are below 10,000 feet. What I'll also do is I'll just reset the MCP altitude now to 1,100, which is our altitude for our final approach fix. So our minimum for today, or minima, is 305 feet, so I'm just going to go for 335. To put in there will be the minimum for the approach today. Heading towards some cloud, we can see true air temperatures above 10 degrees, we don't need any anti-ice, we'll just continue. Another quick thing to note is I've just enabled the terrain inhibit. I found with applying this approach, we'll get terrain warnings just because of the proximity that we fly towards the terrain. So I've just gone ahead and disabled that for this particular approach. We've got enough visual cues to continue the approach visually. So we're just about to start our descent as we pass Galoot. Just get in there. See, there's quite a bit of high terrain around the vicinity of the airport, so we'll just have to keep a watch out for that as we begin the approach. You can see a little bit choppy today. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of tailwind towards the initial part of the approach when we turn south, which will then change to a headwind as we go to the airport. So that'll just increase the difficulty for the approach. You can also see the winds are a little bit variable. It's 4 knots gusting to 5 with variable wind direction. There we go, passing Galoot. Start that descent. Soon we'll be heading to our deceleration point where we'll begin slowing down and getting configured for landing. See a FMC message there that drags required. Oh, that's just disappeared. I'm just going to assist the autopilot, just use a little bit of speed brake just to get us into the speed range of 240. So we've hit the deceleration portion of the approach. See the speed coming down now. So I'm just going to keep the speed brake out for now, just because got a slight tailwind, which is really not going to help our kind of descent rate and speed. Again, we need to be fully configured by our final approach fix with maximum speed of 140 knots, with the first speed restriction of 160 coming up quite quickly. So we're starting to get towards the minimum manoeuvring speed. I'm actually going to bring out flaps 1. Speed check flaps 1. Provide a little bit more drag to help slow us down. Checking, we just want to be at 2700 as we get to Romeo Juliet 032, which looks like we are on track for doing that. I'm going to try and get flaps 5 out because the waypoint after that at Romeo Juliet 801 we have a speed restriction of 160 knots. So I just need to be able to provide a little bit more lift. So we're approaching that. I'm going to go ahead and bring out flaps 5. Go flaps 5 set. That should be able to get us just below that 160 knot speed restriction. See there the high terrain on our right hand side, which is kind of the reason that we're flying around it at the moment. So the airport's just behind all those big buildings off to the nose there. A little bit hard to see. We'll be flying parallel to it relatively soon. Right, I'm actually going to stow the speed brake now.
2500.
Now, next speed restriction is 160. I really want to be fully configured quite early in the approach. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the gear down, bring flap 15 out. Flap 15 set. I'm going to go ahead and bring out flaps 30. Right, flaps 30 is set. I'm going to go ahead with the land checklist. So, flap set 30, speed brake. Speed brake armed, gear is down, engine starter switches to continuous, runway turn off lights on. We're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and disengage. First of all, take away the flight directors. I'm going to go ahead and disengage the auto throttle and take away the autopilot. It's now my aircraft. So I'm flying quite close to this hill over here. Going to be about 1162. This waypoint. Winds are really not helping. We're getting a bit of an updraft now. Pretty good on the altitude. I'm going to start that turn now. Quite a tight turn. See the wind's kind of trying to extend our radius, so we're just going to bring that in a little bit more. Looking too bad, so we want to be rolling out about 300 feet. A little bit of speed. Keep the descent coming down. Rolling out. There's the runway. On slope for once. Not anymore.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
Continue. Just try and get stabilized. Trim the aircraft out. Trim.
200.
Just trying to sort out the trim.
100. 50, 30, 20, 10.
Time and touchdown versus full reverse. Manual braking. 60 knots, disengage reverse thrust. Continue with the manual braking. You can see just how short this runway is. But we made it nonetheless. And welcome to Santos Dumont Airport. I hope you enjoyed that particular episode. A lot of fun. And if you have any other suggestions for other airports, then please let me know in the comments. Thanks.